Today, the world capital of speed plays host to the giants of racing. Underneath the big top of the Indiana Hoosier Dome, an aerial circus with 6-ton racing monsters flying through the air, no problem. Coming up next, Indianapolis explodes with the greatest show on dirt. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the All-Stars, the Monster Truck Thunder Nationals. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the Nashville Network. Today, we're in the racing capital of the world. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee alongside Army Armstrong. And Army, we've been in your hometown of Owensboro, Kentucky. And today, we're in my hometown of Indianapolis, home of the famed Brickyard and the Indy 500. Actually, we're just south of the Brickyard in a section called Gasoline Alley. We're in Bob East Race Shop, builder of the famed Beast, Midget, Sprint, and Silver Crown car. This is Stan Fox's Midget here. But we're going to go downtown about 4.5 miles southeast of here to the Hoosier Dome.
We're going to see, Gary, a beast of a different color. If you'll bear with me, Stan Fox has made a name for this beast car on the circle tracks, where we're going to see some of the best side-by-side indoor monster truck racing in the world. There's a reason behind that. You come to Indianapolis, you open the show with it. This is the speed capital of the world. The big money people are here. The major sponsors are here. These drivers know it. When they came through the door to the Hoosier Dome, they were loaded for bear. They went up one notch. We can see a war indoors tonight.
We'll take a break, but stay with us. We're headed downtown to the Hoosier Dome. Welcome back to the Hoosier Dome in downtown Indianapolis. Gary Lee along with Army Armstrong. Before we get to the pairings for round one, there is one area of concern on the racetrack as we take a look at this section between the starting ramp and the second set of cars. That's called no man's land. And John Moore, the driver of No Problem, says he has one of the old-style spring suspension trucks. Now he says a spring suspension truck will bounce more. That's a very short area. He says he may be bouncing too much to really settle down before he takes that second jump, as opposed to the newer coil spring trucks, which are smoother going through no man's land. We'll watch for that. Also, an inherent problem anytime we race indoors, the shutdown area always seems to be too short. All right, Army, the pairings for round one.
Qualifying comes out. Carolina Crusher on top. He'll go against Tropical Thunder. Moving Violations. New Kid on the Block goes against Barefoot. Now, No Problem goes against the Jersey Outlaw. Kimosabe draws King Crunch. Black Stallion, new truck on the circuit, draws a Bigfoot, who qualified at the bottom of this field. And Taurus, he'll go against Snakebite, Gary.
There's a good close-up in the cockpit with Wayne Smozanik, the veteran from Jupiter, Florida. He's come a long way to the Hoosier Dome to race Tropical Thunder. And in round one, he draws up alongside Gary Porter, the veteran from Wadesboro, North Carolina, in the Carolina Crusher.
Gary, a lot of people wonder about qualifying, how important it is. I want you to watch Gary Porter's qualifying shot that took place earlier in the evening. Think he's not serious about this sport?
Well, he looks totally out of control here, and somehow he uses all the runoff area, all the shutdown area, uses both lanes. It only hits the tire.
Now, this is what's unique. Same scenario. He's in the same lane, but now there's a guy sitting in the other lane. This has to affect Smozanik's psyche about the run. He's got to know that Porter could possibly get over to him.
And he's out of shape again. And he's almost upside down, off to the left, off to the right.
Boy, big-time driving right there. Gary Porter literally pushing it to the limits. You said earlier the shutdown was going to be a problem. The drivers have just proven it right there, as Porter literally high-sided. We got the replay coming up. Good run. He dominates the race, as you can well see. But the problem comes at the very end. The truck goes to the left now. He hooks a rut, high-sides it, back on the throttle, and brings it back around. And, Gary, we had an onboard camera. If you ever wondered what it felt like to take that ride, let's take it right now. The starting line looks good. The first jump, now he starts working to the left. And hook a rut right here, Gary. Up on the side, onto the throttle, spins it back to the left. Well, we got a couple of Garys to the end of the track. What's he have to say about it?
Well, Gary Porter was the fast qualifier, but you look like a driver with a Joey Chitwood thrill show out there. Was driver's side down, driver's side up. How'd you bring him back under control?
Well, I just tried to drive the truck the best I could, on throttle it when it needed it. And I was, it was, just luck, I guess. The truck was qualifying and went over to the left a little bit. And then the first round, it went over really bad. And I thought the truck was going over, but I said, I'm not, going to quit right now. I'm going to try to bring it back up. And, I barely did.
Gary, right now, I know a guy that is really aware of everything in this building. Fred Schaefer is in the very same lane that Porter was running in. Same type truck, same horsepower. Is his truck going to react the same? That's the big question. That's got, again, be a little bit of a psychic problem coming out of that right-hand lane. He'll be going up against Brian Welch, a guy we're not that familiar with. Drives a truck called Moving Violation. He's out of Indiana, so Brian can put a big notch in his gun right now. But the big question is, Schaefer keep it straight.
Brian also is very aware of that problem earlier with Gary Porter, but there's no contest there and no problem for Fred Schaefer. He keeps it straight as the Barefoot takes the victory. Here's a guy that kind of cherry picks the events that he likes to compete in, but anytime he goes out, he's a threat to win it.
He reminds me of the old style, the original outlaw racers. You put the money up, he's got an open date, he'll come race with you. And yes, boys and girls, you can get monster truck trading cards.
Well, there's a fan of no problem. There's the real no problem. That's the Ford Bronco. John Moore, and he's picked up a new sponsor.
Yeah, he's picked up a new corporate sponsor. The HPX people, they manufacture nuts and bolts for all type of automotive and industrial needs. They're glad to be in the sport. We're glad to have them, but he goes up against his own nemesis, Nick Rossi, the New Jersey Outlaw. The Jersey Outlaw, that's right. They may be buddies, and he may have a sponsor, but right now, they're racing each other, and the Outlaw is going to do everything he can to beat. No problem.
A Ford Bronco, a Ford pickup in the Hoosier Dome in downtown Indianapolis, and no problem, may have a problem. John Moore wins it. However, it looks like he may have broken something.
Boy, you talk about a bad luck break. Brand new corporate sponsor, wanted to do good for him. He had the race covered, Gary, but something went away right at the finish line. Do you have any idea what it was?
No, Army, not at this time. We can only say that John Moore is very, very frustrated. As you indicated, a new sponsor. He wants to do well. He had that race won. Then something happens under the hood, and you can look at the frustration. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So no problem has a problem. John Moore becomes a spectator. Now we take a look at the Texan, Scott Stevens, the Auto Value King Crunch. That's a GMC product out of Woodlands, Texas. Scott always with a big smile, a favorite with the crowd here. And he goes up against Jack Brady, a Pennsylvanian, with Kemosabe. That's a Jeep, something we don't normally see on the circuit.
Well, this vehicle, the Kemosabe vehicle, like you say, is not on the circuit that much. We did have a chance to see him outdoors earlier. He made a unique wheel stand when he ran outdoors. I don't know if he's changed the chassis or not. There it is.
Another
there
wheel
it is
stand.
Again. Yeah, the short wheelbase type
with a lot of horsepower.
Yeah, with a lot of horsepower, you can just see the bounce. Meanwhile, we're watching a wheel stand, and Stevens rolls over into the next lounge.
Well, now we can see what Scott does as he will go for the victory here. But watch the wheel stand. Once again, you talk about a tight suspension, a lot of horsepower, a short wheelbase. It all combines to do this right here. He nails the throttle, goes over that second set of cars, and there is the wheel stand.
He very easily could have gone
back over.
Yeah. And
in the hydroplane racing, they'd call that a blowover.
Exactly.
Here you just call it bad luck in monster truck racing. And there's a look at the Black Stallion, another Ford product. And this is Mike Botters. Mike comes in from the East Coast out of Maryland, a long haul from the East Coast to the Hoosier Dome for the Black Stallion. And look at this. Mechanical problems in qualifying. They have Bigfoot Andy Brass listed as the 12th fastest qualifier.
Mike was tickled to death with his qualifying spot. He thinks, I got to run the slowest guy in the field. But what happens? Andy Brass has a problem with Bigfoot. He comes in slow.
He won't be slow now.
Brass has got it covered big.
Easy victory for Andy Brass. This is a 12-truck format here in the Hoosier Dome. Andy Brass, the 12th fastest qualifier. Very uncharacteristic for Bob Chandler and his crew out of St. Louis. But whatever the problem was earlier, they haven't rectified. A big victory here for Andy Brass.
The first jump is 2 cars. Look at the last jump. Completely clears all of them. I mean, clears them, Gary.
That's that 2-frame. Bigfoot 8 for Andy Brass. He advances, and look at this in-truck shot. This is Taurus, and that is the youngster from Granite City, Illinois. That is Eldon Depew. He is the nephew of Jack Willman Sr., who owns Taurus. And look who he goes up against. He's going to try to defang Snakebite, Colt Cobra, out of Cobra Creek, Colorado. Well, he's a mouthy driver, but on occasion he can back it up with his foot.
Yeah, I'll guarantee you that. But it's working because he's already signed a corporate sponsor. We know it's a major toy manufacturer on the side of that truck. But tonight, that's not going to work for him. Now, something interesting here. Oh, Snakebite's having a little bit of problem. He gets it shut down. A moment ago, Bigfoot ran in the left lane, and he cleared the vehicles. Okay, the way he landed. Watch the way Taurus lands. Taurus is a nose-over lander. He lands nose down like a fighter pilot. Watch the front end. Bigfoot lands nose up. There is a chassis difference. on 12,000-pound monster trucks, Gary.
Well, your victor there, advancing to round 2. That is Eldon Depew in Taurus. He takes the victory as we take a look at a great crowd here in the Hoosier Dome in downtown Indianapolis. The monster truck show continues as we ride once again with Eldon Depew in the cockpit of the monster truck Taurus. We're coming back for round 2. Stay with us as Trucks and Tractor Power continues. Gary Lee and Army Armstrong back in the Hoosier Dome in downtown Indianapolis. We are inside for monster truck competition. A great crowd on hand. They've seen some great action in round 1. We're ready for round 2 competition. Here are the matchups. The Crusher, Carolina Crusher against Barefoot. Also in round 2, we'll see Tropical Thunder, the fast loser from round 1, going up against King Crunch. Also in round 2 competition, Bigfoot 8, Andy Brass, going up against Eldon Depew in Taurus. All right, there's a look at Scott Stevens in the Auto Value King Crunch.
You know, we talked earlier about John Moore wanting to do good for his sponsor. One of the biggest GMC dealers in America is from Minneapolis, Indiana. I know Scott wants to put on a good show for him, but in order to do it, he's got to get past this kid right here.
Tropical Thunder. That's Wayne Smozanik. Of course, we're speaking of Ray Skillman, GMC, on the south side of Indianapolis. He races stock cars. Maybe we'll see Ray in a monster truck sometime.
I don't know. I think he's going to let this kid from Texas carry the GMC colors for him. Meanwhile, he's doing just that. He's carrying him into the next round.
Well, the Auto Value King Crunch takes the victory. Let's take a look at the replay.
Gary, when they left the starting line, Stevens had his truck completely under control. We've been talking a lot about suspension, chassis, and everything, but Scott Stevens brings out another interesting factor here. His motor is located in the middle of the truck. It's a mid-mounted motor. He's doing that to balance the truck, and it's working for him. Gary, I understand you're with him right now.
Quarterfinal victory going to Scott Stevens and King Crunch, the Auto Value truck, but you used all the runoff space you could down there.
Yeah, you know, I heard some noise clanging up. It sounded like a clanging, but it probably was just a 4-link bar with a little bit of slop in it. Didn't want to get on the brakes real hard in case it was something broke, and if I hit the brakes, you know, I might roll the rear end out from under the truck. But the truck's not hurt. It's ready to go to the next round. Just want to thank CarQuest for having this event and Auto Value Parts Stores for giving us enough money to be here.
Well, Gary, we know that Scott Stevens is going to be a player in the next round, but who else is going to roll over? We're going to find out right now. This is worth the price of admission. Chevrolet fans are going to be pulling for Taurus. On the other side, the big blue truck. Andy Brass will be driving Bob Chandler's creation. But right now, Jack Willman Sr., the creator of the Taurus team, he's the man on the spot. He's watching his nephew do the driving. Eldon Depew, Andy Brass, Chevrolet, and Ford, Gary.
Well, these guys are neighbors, separated by the river over there. Andy Brass out of St. Louis, Eldon Depew out of Granite City, Illinois, and it looks like Eldon Depew taking the victory over Bigfoot. Watch again, Army.
Why, Eldon Depew literally, look how low he stays to the ground. Stays there.
That's where he wanted it, right there in no man's land. The truck did not jump. It came off that first set of cars in a smooth fashion. He kept it low to the ground, and that's where he was able to apply the horsepower. He takes the victory. There's a good look at Fred Schaefer in Barefoot.
Now, Schaefer's the hired gunner in the sport. I love this guy. You put the money out there, he'll come race for it. The ideal scenario for Fred is to get the front end up. Now, Gary Porter has the same psyche. They both want to go wheels up on the starting line and actually hit the first jump with the rear tires. Let's see if either one of them is going to be able to figure it out. This will be a good start. It'll be a quick run. See, both of them wheels up. Porter's out on
Gary
him.
Porter takes it.
Wow.
Gary Porter takes the victory in the Carolina Crusher over the, as you call him, the hired gun, Fred Schaefer. And that, speaking of a hired gun, was a great shootout.
These guys are like two bullies in high schools just trading licks back and forth. Want to get one day, want to get one the other day. But see the wheels up start. Gary Porter did exactly what he wanted to do. He did not hit the first obstacle with the front tires. He hit it with the rear tires.
Fred had to back out of the throttle because he was out of shape coming off that opening jump, and that's where Gary Porter took the advantage. Now watch. He veers off to the right. He's out of shape right here. He backs out of the throttle to maintain control.
Yeah, and then he tried to burp the throttle to pull it back on, but too late. Porter was already on the other end. Hey, but that's what monster truck racing is all about, and that's why people love it so much.
Fred Schaefer, the fast loser from this round. He'll be back in competition as he walks down toward Wayne Smozanik there in the red shirt. Here now are the matchups for the semifinal, the Crusher and Crunch. And then it's Barefoot, as we say, the fast loser against Eldon Depew's Taurus. A good crowd on hand here in the Hoosier Dome. Although we're indoors, the four-wheel and off-road jamborees offer a host of activities, not only for the truck enthusiasts, but the entire family as well. To find out more, call or write the Special Events Promotion Company. Some of the young fans on hand here in the Hoosier Dome as we take a look at the Idle Value King Crunch. And that is Scott Stevens out of Texas.
Gary, you know, as we get into this Final Four, this could be known as the round of reckless abandonment. Every one of these guys are going to do something goofy before it's over. I've just got
controlled mayhem.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in a big building with 1,500 horsepower and 20,000-pound trucks jumping things. Hey, something weird has got to happen.
Send your letters to Army Armstrong. We're going to have something goofy here in the Hoosier Dome.
What did I say? Watch it.
Look at him pull the trigger on the Idle Value King Crunch, but where did Carolina Crusher come from?
What I
Where
said,
did he
normally
come
Gary
from?
Porter's the leader. Stevens knew that. You get out of the Final Four in this kind of competition, you just never know.
Stevens had him. Stevens had him. He pulls a great light. Look at this.
Yeah. Whole shot to Stevens. Porter, though, settles down right now. Bursts the throttle,
and he
plants the
right
horsepower,
there.
and flies past him. You know, what can you say? Half of the last show is set. We know Porter's going to be back. Who's he going to be going against? That's the big question right now. But Porter is still having trouble in the shutdown area. We opened the show showing you problems with this truck. He hasn't solved them yet. He's getting closer, Gary. I don't think he's solved them yet. Again, goes around on the onboard camera, tells you he keeps hooking. Gary?
Well, Gary Porter, you go to the championship, but I got to tell you, King Crunch was all over you at the start.
Yeah, I think he might have red light. You know, since I went ahead and won the race, I didn't, protest or anything, but I think he might have jumped the light. And I knew I was going to have to, get him there between the two sets of cars after he left first.
Gary Porter, I hate to tell you, buddy, he just drilled you big time on that starting line. Your horsepower's what won the race for you. Speaking of horsepower, Barefoot and Taurus. Gary, probably the two most powerful trucks on the circuit.
Here's a look from inside the cockpit. Seated alongside Eldon Depew in Taurus and Fred Schaefer in the cockpit of Barefoot. This should be a dandy.
Told you it's going to be a goofy round. Is anything weird going to happen?
Barefoot comes back as a fast loser and takes the victory. And that means that Barefoot will go up against Crusher for the championship here in the Hoosier Dome.
And all night long, everybody is still trying to get these trucks figured out. Barefoot comes up on the left side of the screen. Now, notice the
He's in trouble
gyration
right there.
Yeah, look at the gyrations of these vehicles. Don't ever think it's like somebody tells me drag racing, straight racing. No, monster truck racing is not straight either. These guys are all over that track. Bam, big bounce, shutting it down. Up on his left, up on his right. Now he's got to throttle back, sliding in a concrete wall. That's monster truck racing, Gary.
We have a foot in the final, but the foot is a Chevy. It's Barefoot. Fred Schaefer, you came back as a fast loser. That's all it took.
Yeah, thank you. It's a fast track. Gary's running real hard tonight, and I think it's going to be a real interesting race for the final.
Indeed it should be, as we take a look at the eyes of Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher. He goes up against Fred Schaefer's Barefoot next. The Chevy fans are ready for the final from the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. Gary Lee along with Army Armstrong and Chevy against Chevy.
Gary, I made an observation a moment ago. We had a camera shot showing the intensity of Gary Porter. In Vietnam, we call that a 1,000-meter stare. That's the type of intensity this final is set up. Porter's not the only driver in a monster truck with the same stare. This building is not 1,000 meters long. Here we go. Final time. Chevrolet's a pair. North Carolina going against Illinois. Horsepower track at its best. Both of these guys are ready to do their thing, Gary.
Right there off the start, it's the Carolina Crusher. Fred Schaefer gets in trouble in Barefoot, but it was all Gary Porter. How'd you like that explosion there? That caught me by surprise.
Me too. I was ducking. I didn't know what was going on.
You thought you were back in Vietnam.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got a good monster truck final. Just a little bit of a hesitation by the Barefoot truck. Cost him on the starting line. Porter goes out and legs the horsepower in that Chevrolet engine. And, hey, Porter's night. Money goes back to North Carolina from the Indiana.
And you can see each pass, Gary Porter had it dialed in. He had trouble early on in qualifying. He had trouble with his first round pass, but after that, he got that chassis dialed in.
People don't realize that these monster truck drivers are like any other kind of racers. They're constantly working on their trucks between rounds. You don't just put the big tires on and go racing. This is a sport of technology. They're always trying to tweak them, as you guys call it. Well, our Gary Lee's down with tonight's winner.
Gary Porter has driven into victory lane at Indianapolis. Congratulations.
Thanks. The competition here has really been tough. I'd like to thank Big A Auto Parts for standing behind me, for the few years they have. My brother and all my friends back at the shop, CarQuest, and special events for putting on this race.
Gary, congratulations once again. That will wrap it up from the Hoosier Dome. Join us next week for another edition of Trucks and Tractor Power. Now, here's news and an exciting video release from Diamond P Sports.
This Christmas, give Diamonds home videos from Diamond P Sports. For the monster truck fan, young or old, you can't beat the 1-2 punch of this action-packed duo. The original Shake, Battle, and Roll and Shake, Battle, and Roll 2. It's the thunder and fury of unleashed horsepower times 2. And you save $5 through this combo offer. You'll witness the heart-stopping aerobatics of flying monster trucks, the grime of impossible 3-second mud bog races, and the ground-pounding power of truck and tractor pulling. To order, call 1-800-982-7979. Visa, MasterCard, and Discover accepted, or send check or money order for $34.90 plus $6 shipping and handling to the address on your screen. That's 1-800-982-7979. And while you're ordering, pick up on a Diamond P Sports sweatshirt. It's comfortable and stylish with Diamond P sleeve logo. Call 1-800-982-7979.